morning, everyone. My name is Kathy. I'm here to give my first presentation on how to create an API using Spring Boot. So, before starting, some of the software needed to be installed in our system. The, the first one is Eclipse ID. We can also use IntelliJ instead of Eclipse according to our convenience. I have Eclipse ID. So, share Eclipse. This one. And the other one is the Postman. Postman is used for the API testing. Postman. It is what is Postman? Postman is an API testing tool. If we want to know whatever API we have created is correct or not, so Postman is used to test our API whether it is working correctly or not. So this is the work done by the Postman. Instead of Postman, we can also check our APIs on any of the web browser we can use other than Postman. So before creating our project, we should know firstly what is Spring Boot. Spring Boot is a Java framework which is used to create a backend of a web application. Let me explain what is backend. When we go to an e-commerce website, we see a product list which is considered as a front end. But the product list is coming from somewhere. Basically, it is coming from the database. From there, the data is fetched and displayed on the user interface. So, there must be a logic for fetching data and displaying the data to the user interface. So, at that place, the Spring Boot is used to build the logic for that application. There is a lot of features in the Spring Boot are here is the some features of Spring Boot. It is very easy to develop project using Spring Boot and the time taken to develop any project is very less. Spring Boot is a popular Java based web framework which makes developer life very easy. Automatically configures Spring and the third parties libraries and it comes with Tomcat server embedded in it. By default, Tomcat works as a default server and it provides a lot of dependencies. These are the couple of points I took from the Spring Boot official website. First one is framework. Framework is just a basic structure of an application which helps developing an application. We talked right now about the Spring Boot. Spring Boot is an example of it. The second one is REST API. It is the combination of two words. REST stands for Representational State Transfer and the API stands for Application Program Interface. The concept of this API comes from a person called Roy Infielding in year 2000. He discovered a protocol so that the exchange of data between the two applications can be easily done. Using API, transfer of data from one application to another and the exchange of data from one application to another which can be done in any form. We can send XML data, JSON data, HTML data, even raw data. After discovery of API, data transfer become very easy for the developer. The third one is dependencies. Suppose we are creating a Java project, we are involving database into it. Then our project is dependent on database jar. So that is nothing but a dependency. Also, we are going to implement all this in our project. The fourth is postman. It is nothing but an integer address where our application runs. When we start our application, it runs on some port. By default, it is 8080. We will show when I will create our first project. Postman is I have discussed about the Postman. It is an API testing tool used for testing APIs. And the sixth one is annotation. Let me explain with an example. Suppose we have to write 100 lines of code twice. It is going to be same every time. Through annotation, we replace the 100 line of code with a single word called annotation. Now the other one is microservices. Taking a very simple example, if we go to any e-commerce website, everything is divided to different services. Just take an example of the payment service. There is a separate service for making any payment. In simple word, if I tell, it is a method that break down the software into modules which provides functionality is known as microservice. So let's create our Spring Boot application project. Open your Eclipse ID. I have opened mine. There are many ways to create our Spring Boot application, but I am choosing the simplest one. Some steps need to follow. Open your web browser. Here we have to search start spring.io. No, fix now. Okay, search. This is the first official website of Spring Boot Initializer. Here in the project section, we are choosing the Maven. Maven is used to add the dependencies which we require for creating a Spring Boot application. Second one is the language, which we will choose Java as we have to create a Java application. Spring Boot, we are choosing 3.3.3. Then we will name it as app app 7. Okay, we have to add web dependency. Web dependency here we are getting. Now in packaging we have to choose jar. Now click on generate. Now we have to go in download section. Downloads file. Here I think it was 7. Yeah, here I got it. Okay, extract all. Click on extract. Now we have to open our Eclipse ID. Click on file, import existing Maven project, browse, downloads, app 7, select folder. Here we are getting this jar file. Now click on finish. Now we will get our project here somewhere. I could not find where it is. It was app 7. Yes, this was our project. We got successfully. We have imported our project. Then we have to go in Java. This package we have Java. This is the starter point of our project. We have to run Java file. Run as Java application. Our project is successfully. Oh, this was. Here we have to change our port number for this. Wait. Resources. The application dot properties. Server dot port is equal to 8083. 3-507. We have used it. Then again run as this application first. Yeah, run as Java application. See our this is also in use 9093 is equal to 909093. Okay, again we are trying to run it. Run as Java application. Eight zero 80. Now run as. There was a spelling mistake. Yes, our application is running successfully. Tomcat initializer with the port 9093. We changed right now. Now let us see the file structure. Here we have Java. This is the starter point of our application. Then we have form.xml. Where it is here form.xml. Here we have several dependencies. Let's see what are the dependencies. Yes, here we got the Spring framework. Yeah, these are the dependencies. Then we have in resources, in resources application dot properties. If we want to change the port, which is possible through the application dot properties file, and if we want to connect our project to the database, we have to define our project in this file. Here, one of the use case I have shown that server dot port 909. Before our project was running on default port 8080, and now it has been changed to 9093. Here we can see here 9093, and the default one is 8080. Now here is the Maven dependencies. We have added web dependencies. Yeah, Tomcat embedded. These are all the dependencies added. What we have added in web dependency. Then we have GRE libraries. Okay. In software architecture, the controller layer, service layer, and the DAO layer are common components of a multi-tier application. The first one is controller layer, or it is also called as presentation layer. This is the layer that handles the interaction with the user. It receives the input from the client as API request and direct the request to the appropriate service layer. Some responsibilities are handles the HTTP request in web application, map user action to the business logic, convert input into the object that the service layer can process, handle responses, sending data back client. These are the responsibilities which are performed by the controller layer. And the second one is service. In service layer, the service layer holds the business logic. It sits between the controller and the data access layer, DAO layer, and ensures the business rules are applied. Some responsibilities are implement business logic and workflow, call method on DAO layer to retrieve and update data, validates data before saving or performing operations, often include transaction management, start commit rollback of transaction, provides an abstraction layer between the controller and the DAO layer. The third is DAO layer, data access object layer. Data access object layer. This layer is responsible for the interaction with the database, abstracts the data access details so that the service layer does not need to know how data is stored or retrieved. Some responsibilities are second point in DAO layer is it performs CRUD operation, create, read, update, and delete operations. It maps the database result to the object that the service layer can use. The DAO interact with the database to insert the new user record. These all about the DAO layer. Now let us create our first API in Java. Let's go to our Eclipse ID, to our previous project app.app7. We will be creating our first API here itself in Java package. In this package, we are going to create a new package. We will name it as controller. Controller. In this we have to in this package we have to create a class. We will name it as my controller. Here we need to add an annotation called REST controller. Now in this class I will write a method public string my first API. API. Now we have to trust our API in Postman. So open Postman. Firstly, we have to note this port number 9094. Man, Postman. Then this here we have to write my first API. Port number was 9094. Hmm, 9094. Let's check. Click on send. Yeah, we have got our first request. This is my first API calling. We can also check in our browser, web browser. HTTP host 9094 slash my host API. Let's do localhost. No problem in our web browser. There is some problem. It is not working here. No problem. It is running in our Postman. It's fine. So these are the things workings we have to do to build our first API. Now let's see some of the annotations we used in our application. First one is @ REST API. This annotation indicates a Spring Boot application that this is the particular class is the controller class in our application. The second annotation is get mapping. Basically, it is representing the get type of request in the HTTP method. Now let us discuss some of the most frequently used HTTP method. First one is get, post, put, patch, and delete. Let us take an example of the shopping website. Let's take it Amazon. When we search for any product, we get a list of items. That is get request. In post, when we order something, when a fresh entry is made on the database where our data is created and saved, that is post request. Now coming to the third, if we want to make any changes in our order, then we use put request. And the last one is delete. Here we delete the order what we created on our ID.